Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are delighted to see so many of you joining us from across regions and industries. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. I'm Loredana, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Today's discussion is about a challenge. Organizations continue to invest heavily in digital platforms, yet many still struggle to realize the expected value. And today it is also about finding out how the market is evolving beyond traditional training and towards a broader and more intelligent concept of user enablement powered by AI. We are especially honored to be joined today by an esteemed analyst from Everest Group. It is my pleasure to welcome Ira Singh, Practice Director at Everest Group. Ira brings deep expertise on enterprise software markets and digital adoption trends, and she will open the session today with key insights on how AI transformation is unfolding across organizations. Joining Ira, we are also very pleased to have with us Stefano Rizzo, CEO of Newired, who will be sharing Newired's perspective on the evolution of user enablement and what this shift means for enterprises. And Guido Pifferi, Product Manager at Newired, who will also provide a first glimpse into a new upcoming innovation capability powered by Newired. Just to quickly walk you through the agenda of today. We will start by having a Everest Group perspective on why AI and digital investments often fail to deliver results, moving to a discussion on why traditional approaches are no longer sufficient on their own, moving on to Newired's view then on next generation enablement models, and having a look ahead with the announcement of Newired's early adopter program. Finally, we will close today's webinar with the live Q&A session. And speaking about this, we really encourage you to submit your questions using the question panel in your GoToWebinar dashboard. You can see it on your right side of the screen. Please type your questions there at any time, and we'll be monitoring them and address as many as we can at the end of today's webinar. Ira, thank you again for joining us today. For beginning, I would like to quickly ask you, from your perspective, what is driving the AI acceleration, and why do many organizations still struggle to translate the AI investment into business value?
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Hello, everyone. That's a great place to start with. What's driving AI acceleration right now comes down to what I call as the 3 V's. First is velocity. There is real progress in technology, from Gen AI to agentic AI and co-pilots, and the pace of change is incredibly fast. The second one is value. Organizations are seeing the real promise of higher productivity, faster decision-making with AI. And the last one is versatility. AI is being applied everywhere, across functions and workflows. And this is what our 2026 enterprise research also shows. So roughly 68% of the organizations are actively implementing or piloting AI initiatives. But what I can tell you is, based on my conversations, leaders tell me something very uncomfortable. The technology works, but the value does not always show up. So organizations are not asking whether to implement AI right now. They are asking how fast they can scale it. So now the question arises, if so many companies are implementing AI, where is the breakdown? So Stefano, if we can move to the next slide. When we ask CXOs what blocks value realization, the answers are rarely about algorithms. They talk about building in-house skills, data integrity, cybersecurity, unclear ROI, integration challenges. So the success of AI initiatives will hinge upon all the 3 pillars of people, process, technology. But underneath all of that is a deeper problem. People cannot confidently execute in their day-to-day workflows. So let me share a quick anecdote with you. I was working with a global enterprise and they rolled out an AI-based case management system. During the pilot phase or testing, the system reduced handling time by about 25%. But in production, productivity actually dipped for the first 3 months. And the answer for that is employees were unsure when to trust AI. They did not know how to handle the edge cases and they toggled between tools trying to confirm outputs. So what I'm trying to say here is that when AI moves into full-scale implementation, variability increases, user diversity increases, exception increase, as well as risk exposure. And that is where enablement becomes really important. So let's make this interactive now. I've been speaking for some time. Let's see what's the audience sentiment. So over to you, Laurie.
Yes, thank you, Ira. Before we go further, we would like to take a quick moment to hear from you, our audience. So we would love to ask what most often prevents digital initiatives from delivering value in your organization. So I will launch the poll. You should see it on the screen now. Please take a moment to answer these, and we will share the results shortly and reflect on them as we continue the conversation. Please go ahead and vote now. Thank you.
While you are voting, I can start sharing my perspective. It's interesting that these options look different. So the fact that users struggle with complexity or process break or too much change or lack of visibility, actually from my perspective, they describe the same structural gap. So they are not independent, really. So you might feel one more important or more frequent in your scenario, but they are tightly connected each other. Actually, this happens when digital initiatives focus on deployment, but they don't really focus on execution. What we see from our perspective is that enterprises manage systems, but they rarely manage how those systems are actually used. So most organizations, invest a lot in technology and architecture, but very few invest in execution architecture. So Laurie, maybe people voted, if you can share the result.
Yes. Sure, I will close now the poll and share the results.
So interesting, so complexity and too much change and too little support are winning. So actually, complexity, from my perspective, becomes a problem when users are left alone with complexity. And the fact that too much change is not an issue. Change is always happening. Change is everywhere. The only constant is change, but the unsupported change is an issue. That's my point of view on this. So the real blocker of digital value is probably unmanaged execution. And normally we do train to manage the change. What we do is train people to manage the change. Ira, from your point of view, what is wrong with the traditional training and change management? I mean, we've always been training people for the change, to manage the change. But the traditional, as the poll demonstrates, and as we see in the market, this is failing, mostly failing. Do you have an insight about why?
Yeah. We do have, right? And I am not surprised by the poll results, Stefano, because it is pretty clear. Users are struggling with complexity. In the past, processes looked like A to B to C. Right now, workflows are cross-application. So if we were to get into a life of, let's say, a sales rep, they start in the CRM, They qualify a deal, apply AI-based scoring, then they move to CPQ to configure the pricing and discounts. From there, it flows into ERP for order processing and finally into billing. So that's 4 systems in one workflow. However, we are still training people for linear execution in a single system. Users now expect support that behaves like AI itself, context aware, adaptive, real time. And that is why, if we can move to the next slide, Stefano, that is why I often say one thing, that AI is shifting from being a tool to being a teammate. It means that expectations have fundamentally changed. Users no longer want static instructions, which was the case with traditional management tools. They want guidance that understands what screen they are on, what role they have, and what outcome they're trying to achieve. In other words, they expect that the software meets them where they are. So we have an enablement continuum at Everest Group for enterprises. So if we move to the next slide, most organizations move through stages. Awareness and access is when tools are rolled out. Onboarding is when users complete some basic training with the traditional methods. Initial adoption happens wherein you see some features being used, but usually not deeply. Inflow enablement, where real-time help becomes available within tools for the users, and then continuous optimization, which is about analytics. Usage is tracked, behavioral analytics is tracked, so that support can be personalized and outcomes can be measured. So what I have found is that most organizations, they plateau somewhere around step 3. There's usage but not user proficiency. So let me give the audience an example. Modern enablement is like GPS. And here the important part is, when you use GPS, you do not actually memorize the route. You rely on it to complete the journey successfully. You're not trying to become an expert in every street and turn. You are focused on reaching the destination efficiently. In the same way, employees should not need to memorize every process variation, every system, every AI decision logic. They should be able to rely on embedded guidance to help them complete the workflow correctly. So Stefano, I have a question for you here. You have been working with enterprises on digital transformation for years now. So when you think about this GPS example, where users don't memorize every turn, but rely on guidance to reach the destination, does that resonate with what you are seeing on the ground as well?
Well, I love this GPS example, because when we started our business back in 2017, the first idea was to have a GPS for digital tools, so to build something that is able to drive users to destinations. Actually, we found that the processes have several steps that need to be completed, especially in highly regulated industries. So having a GPS to drive them through these steps was very important. But I'd like also to elaborate a bit on the fact that what you see, which is very close to what you see about the difficult step from your point 3 to 4, so moving into enablement, AI-assisted enablement. We see the same. We believe that there are reasons why there is a low adoption in the market. And the reasons that we see are that some very often software is being purchased before adoption and, let me say, guidance for users is planned. And many times companies do not purchase one single technology. When they have a digital transformation initiative, they have several tools, and there is no cross-system owner. Training is mostly ineffective or incomplete, happens outside the real world, and we have no telemetry about the real use of technology. So companies sometimes invest a lot into tools and technologies they don't really use to the full extent. Digital processes are complex, but that's in the human nature. We've been building very complex things over here, so especially in engineering, in finance, and in medical, in pharma, in many environments. Processes must be complex. There is not much that you can do about that. But there is a lack of guidance into tools, especially around these processes. So what are software vendors doing now? What we see, and it's a big hype in the market, every software vendor is leveraging AI to build their copilots. The question is, are these copilots really enough to solve the low adoption? What vendors do? They position their copilots as natural language assistants inside the UI. This promises a faster completion of tasks and less formal training, bigger ability to find the knowledge inside the tool, so you can ask questions and find answers directly while using technology. And they promise to give you a productivity boost thanks to AI. But what they assume is that users know what to ask. At some point, they know the question. And also they assume that the process is pretty standard. So copilots normally are based on the vendor's knowledge, not on the tailored processes that customers do deploy on their digital systems. Every digital technology, complex digital technology, from CRM to people management, to application lifecycle, product lifecycle management, whatever, they have highly configurable processes. And vendors' copilots are not able to drive users through them. The system, the context is not big enough, so there are not enough information into these copilots, and knowledge is very, they assume the knowledge is very structured and clean and not dirty, as it happens very often. Let me say, the knowledge that has been building over years and having different ways of being maintained. And they also believe that governance is already in place. But the structural gap that we see is that they normally answer questions and they cannot orchestrate behavior. We also see that they assist individuals and they are not able to follow processes. They live inside one single application. So if you are purchasing a copilot, the copilot is living inside that application, not cross applications. They are able to react and they cannot monitor what users are really doing and where they are really struggling. And they can't ensure compliance to specific tailored processes. So in a nutshell, you can't really use copilots, vendor copilots, when you have a legacy solution that don't have it. Yeah, that's of course easy to understand. Also, if you wanted to drive users step by step inside applications to point them exactly what they should do, and you want to guide them on tailored processes, or you want to monitor user adoption and issues, and eventually by monitoring their behavior, saving money in unused licenses and features that you've been purchasing. And you want one single place, one single companion that is able to drive you through multiple applications, accessing to your knowledge. Copilots, actor copilots can't do that. So the answer about digital adoption is more than copilots. Some of you might be familiar with this technology, which is what we build actually. You see here this layer which is being deployed over a complex application process, very process-heavy application. You can ask a question to this chatbot, which is pretty similar to copilots, but the beauty of this is that once you find what you need, digital adoption, and Newired in this case, is able to drive you step by step, pointing you exactly to the places in the application where you need to click to perform a specific action. You can also collect these journeys in multiple sets like playbooks, or as it was just shown, you can point to external references, so to external documentation, and find in your knowledge base or in the vendor's knowledge base the content that you need. That's what a digital adoption normally does. Let me see if I can move to the next slide. Okay, so the benefits compared to copilots is that we are able to drive users step by step inside the application, and that's where digital adoption comes from. We can provide guidance on specific processes, and we can monitor user adoption and issues. We can also have a safe access to your knowledge base. So how companies do use their tools is their tradition, is the way they make things. Our companies are all different. They do products in a different way. They do software or services in a different way. And this ability to be specific is well copied, well covered by digital adoption in general. So we can also have digital adoption can become your actionable process book. So the place where your knowledge is being transferred in a secure place and supports your user at any time. So honestly, digital adoption is, thanks to AI, as you have seen, and as you will see later in Guido's presentation, is becoming more than it was, is becoming really an enterprise user enablement platform. So the place where we enable users in achieving success. So this is our point of view over copilots. Ira, I'd like to ask you, which is your analyst point of view about copilots?
Yeah, so Stefano, great explanation. And we are also asked a lot about copilots versus digital adoption platforms. I would say they're not replacing each other, rather they are more complementary by nature. So I do not see copilots playing the role of digital adoption. With great capabilities, copilots do come in, but they are limited to single applications. And as I was giving an example before, the workflows, they flow from a CRM to CPQ to ERP to billing. And you need that copilot-like experience for the user across applications. And this is what digital adoption platforms can do. But the question is, how do you approach change management today? So we have a very telling data here. We did a research, and what we saw was that there is a clear shift away from passive static training approaches. The top approach cited by CXOs to us is power users as champions, standing at 78%. So power users for them are like one-star employee everyone goes to when something breaks. They know all the shortcuts, they know which buttons not to click, they have figured out the workarounds. That's great in the beginning, but the problem is you can't scale your transformation around 2-3 heroes. If your AI rollout depends on a handful of super users answering questions all day, you haven't built capability. You have actually built dependency. So the question is, how do you use the power of your power users at scale to drive adoption?
Well, it's very interesting here. And yeah, we have been talking about copilots as reactive systems. And what we are seeing is something which is really different, just to highlight what you just said. The real gap is not just answering questions, it's anticipating friction. And from Everest perspective, are organizations asking for a smarter chat or a smarter execution? Can you elaborate a bit on this?
That's a great question. So from what we are seeing across enterprises, they're not asking for better conversations. What they're asking for is measurable outcome improvement. So no CIO or CXO tells us that I need a smarter chatbot. They say, why is cycle time still inconsistent? Why does productivity drop after go live? Why are my support tickets so high? So the demand is not smarter chat, it's smarter execution. Enterprises want AI to reduce variability in execution. That's the real issue. Another insight we consistently see, Stefano, is that behavioral data is underutilized. Hardly organizations collect data around user drop-off points or friction hotspots or feature usage to drive decisions. Most co-pilots right now, they are knowledge engines. They retrieve information, they answer questions. But enterprises, they increasingly need systems of execution now. Systems that can shape behavior in real time and not just respond to it.
Exactly, here. So why, if AI didn't just answer, but learn from your best users? So what if the system is able to observe how experienced users behave and complete tasks and predict what less experienced users should do next? So can tell less experienced users what they should do after. So instead of asking what should they do, the system already knows. Would you consider that a shift from assistance to a real enablement intelligence?
Yes, yes, I would absolutely call that enablement intelligence. And the difference is meaningful. Assistance is reactive in nature. Enablement intelligence is predictive and adaptive. So I would say it requires four capabilities. First is pattern learning. It must identify the behavioral patterns of power users or high performing users, not just what they click, but how do they sequence decisions? When do they override AI? When do they escalate? Second is around context recognition. It is really important that it understands the role, the tenure, the region, the workflow stage. Without context, guidance remains generic, right? Third one is around providing proactive guidance. So don't wait for the user to hesitate or ask a question. Identify when they are facing challenge and provide guidance to them. And the fourth one is continuous reinforcement. So as AI models evolve, workflow shift, guidance must adapt to.
Oh, that's thank you very much, Hira, for this insight. We are actually working and launching today the early adopter program of a brand new technology from Newired. We call it Newired Virgil as a code name at the moment. It might become the name of the product. And it's able to learn from experienced users and tell other users what they should do. But I don't want to over-explain that too much, because we have Guido with us that can briefly explain our forthcoming early access program to this technology, what can mean for companies and people that like to join us in this adventure.
Yes, so hello everyone. So as Stefano said, I'm going to introduce something that is a new and clear step beyond the digital adoption. Today, as a product manager, I'm really excited to introduce our newest innovation in user enablement. That is, as Stefano said, Newired Virgil. So Virgil basically redefines how people can get support in their workflows. Thanks to the machine learning, it brings a new way in which guidance content is created and maintained. Because instead of manually building the guides step by step, as in for the digital adoption platforms, Virgil learns directly from the behavior of your most advanced users. It basically observes how they complete the tasks, it identifies the best practices, and it automatically generates the contextual guidance that is aimed for the less experienced users by also predicting their next steps. So in essence, Virgil captures the real expertise from within your organization and turns it into something scalable, some automated support, ensuring that the enablement content always reflects how work is actually being done. Because, you know, there is a way in which software is supposed to be used, and then there is also a way in which you actually use it. Let's call it your own operational DNA. So Virgil is here to learn this operational DNA, your own operational DNA, and spread it across your organization automatically. So this is just the beginning for us. This is just the beginning for Virgil, and soon, so we are launching right now our early adoption program for Virgil. So participants will receive an early access to the product, and will have also the opportunity to test it in real environments, in your real environments, and we'll have also a direct channel to share feedback with us that will help us to refine and perfect the solution before its official release. So if you are interested in experiencing Virgil firsthand and let's say actively contributing to its evolution, we'd be excited to have you join us. So please feel free to reach the contacts you should see in a second on screen, and I will let you know more about our upcoming product.
Thank you very much, Guido. So you can scan the QR code on the screen now, and you will be pointed to drop an email to Guido directly to enroll in this early adopter program. You can be part of the future. There is no vendor at the moment that has this degree of ability of leveraging machine learning from experienced users to newbies in a very seamless and protected way. So please join us in this adventure. I personally thank you very much, Ira, for this nice conversation, and I think that we can move to Q&A.
Thank you very much, Ira. Thank you, Stefano and Guido, for these insights. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, so we can open the live session of Q&A. As a reminder to our attendees, you can submit your questions at any time through the questions panel in the GoToWebinar dashboard. I see we already have a few coming in, so let's get started. How do you handle resistance from star performers? After all, you would risk taking their status away from them if you force them to work with an AI that learns their workflows.
I can take this one probably. Then Guido, you might elaborate a bit on this. It's a matter of behavior. The question is on spot, and I like a lot this question. It's not a matter of stealing the knowledge from one person and distributing that globally first. Is to ensure that your peers get the best out of the software investments. So of course, is not by meaning out driving through a process that makes an engineer better than others. Is the way how you invent technology, how you envision a technology, how you envision a service or a product or whatever that makes people great in their job. It's not the way how they use the products. So how they use digital technologies. That's just a matter of distributing the know-how, not in terms of art or ability or engineering, but in the matter of using the tools and the processes in the right way. So there should be no fear from people that their ability to deal with technology goes to their peers, because they will be asked anyhow. Because the peers sitting in the next desk will ask, oh, can I do this and that? And I think that this is a relevant question, but not really, not to the extent in which we apply Virgil.
Yeah, and I'll just add to this. What I have seen based on my experiences, that these power users actually at times get frustrated by the amount of time people reach out to them for how to use a software, right? So if you are actually able to use them to identify the workflow so that the dependency on them can go down. They do not need to address these questions and they can focus on their actual work and contribute meaningfully. So I think many power users would be up for it. Even in the traditional training methods, there also we have seen the subject matter experts, their knowledge being used to create courses. So yeah, so it's a way of firm-wide contribution for power users, I would say.
I'll add also the fact that standardizing processes inside an organization, I think, is something always good. So having a team of peers that uses the same standards, the same rules, the same behaviors that you use, that you as a like a star user, advanced users can use, is somehow always good for an organization.
Thank you for this question, Yaron. Gives food for next webinar.
Thank you. Another question I see on the panel: what are your recommendations relating to the AI adoption cycle that goes from single use cases to AI backlog for a specific business domain to scaling with AI factory?
Ira, can you take this?
Yeah, I can share a few thoughts, right? One of the challenge which I hear a lot is that we are implementing AI, but no one is using it. So there is a very common stat, even with respect to digital transformation, that okay, 70% of the digital transformation initiatives have failed in the past, and something similar is happening with AI. So in case of AI adoption, as you are moving through the journey, right, from pilot to implementation to scaling it, how we see it is you start with measuring the user behavior. Where are they adopting AI? Where are they facing challenges? Where are they dropping off? Where is AI really adding value? Once you have adopted, once you have measured the user behavior, bring in the interventions, bring in guidance, step-by-step guidance, tool tips, to help them through the process, to complete it, adopt it, help them with the prompts, and bring in automation, pre-filling of data and all. After that, once you have brought in the intervention, you close the loop again and again measure user adoption of AI, so that you know that, okay, where is it working and wherein you need to bring further interventions and improvements. So it's like a loop. You start with measuring how users are using a system or AI. You bring in the interventions through a digital adoption platform, and after that you continuously monitor it and measure it to ensure that it is getting adopted and users are not facing any challenges in picking that up. Hope that helped.
My point of view on this is that it's a kind of maturity level of maturity of companies, how they will adopt AI. From our perspective, of course, we are in the digital adoption space, user enablement space, and we see, as I tried to describe earlier, is we are investing a lot in creating a kind of AI-based and machine learning-based layer that connects the dots. So, which is not just single use case, but goes throughout the processes. That's how we help enterprises in leveraging AI to an higher extent than just the specific single use cases.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question. Is AI reducing the need for enablement?
I would say it's quite the opposite, because just like the previous question, when you're moving from single use case to multiple use cases, AI is increasing the complexity of tools. So without enablement and intelligence, it is going to be really difficult for enterprises to realize value or ROI out of it. And with AI coming in, things are becoming more and more complex. Most users won't know how to fully benefit from these AI infused systems. So I would say that smart tech needs smart support. So the need is to design AI interactions in a way that are intuitive, that are guided, that are embedded in the flow of work for the users. So simplicity is going to be the key here. And no, I don't think AI will reduce the need for enablement.
Sorry, I will take the question from Philip. How does Virgil validate what is a good process and what is not good? Pretty technical question. I love this one. Actually, we can't disclose how our algorithm, which has been invented by us and is undergoing a patent process at the moment. But for those that will apply to early adopter program under NDA, they will get this kind of information, of course. That's one of the key innovations that we do have.
Thank you, Stefano. Let me check if there are more questions. Isn't user adoption mainly an onboarding problem? Once people are trained and productive, doesn't the issue basically disappear?
Well, adoption is not an event. I take this one, sorry. Adoption is not really an event, it's a moving target. The real challenge is not just teaching people once in the beginning. It's preserving how things are done over time. Digital adoption, so is not just onboarding. We strongly believe that, as I said, that the right word is enablement, which is continuous, which goes from onboarding to support to ensuring that processes are rightly followed. So while using tools, digital adoption tools like Newired, you are not just guiding users, you're not just onboarding users, you are preserving your operational DNA. Your company is different and it does things in a different way. And if you want to preserve and distribute your operational DNA, that's where we believe that our real value comes from.
Thank you, Stefano. I only see one more question at the moment, but feel free to ask more. How will the early adoption program work? Could be a question for you, Guido, I think.
Yeah, I can take it, but partially I think Stefano already answered to that. So, but I will again state. So we still have a patent process undergoing, so we cannot disclose many details at this stage, unless obviously under NDA. So on a general level, I can say that the scope of the early adoption process is to grant you access to our new product in order to let you experiment with it while we can gather the necessary data that obviously will remain private in order to refine the product and let it be more efficient in your environment in the future. So what we will do is basically a process of optimization of our tool in your digital environment without changing anything within it. So I encourage you again to contact us so we can dive deeper into the details.
Thank you, Guido. We still have 1 minute to take one more question. Can we see user enablement as managing user experience, including all the journeys, engage, use, re-engage?
Long answer short, yes. Yes, engage, use, re-engage, ensure that they are connected, ensure that they get the best out of the tools that they are using, and ensuring that we will reach compliance goals in our processes. It's a continuous companion. The name Virgil, for example, comes from this idea. You know that Virgil was the guy that was accompanying Dante in the comedy. He was always there. He was not really a guide. He was not really somebody that was pushing Dante through the hell and so on. He was just there to help at any time. So that's what we see user enablement from our perspective.
I think we've covered all the questions. In case there is any more questions arising, please feel free to use the emails on the screen, and we will be happy to address them. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. A special thank you to Ira Singh from Everest Group for sharing such valuable analyst insights. Thank you, Ira. And thank you, Stefano and Guido, for shaping Newired's vision on the next generation enablement. As mentioned by my colleagues, we invite you to enroll to our newest early adopter program and connect with us via email. As a follow-up email, you will get these instructions and hope to stay in touch. Thanks again for your questions and your participation, and have a nice day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everybody, thank you. Thanks, Laurie.
Goodbye.
Bye.